Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask a question which I'm going to flip in here for you guys. And this is a fantastic question because it's actually a complicated question, more so than people might realize. But he wants to know, is the reverse grip bench press a great exercise? Does it work the upper chest more than the flat bench? What are the benefits of it? Why don't I recommend it for injury prevention? Because it does have an actual injury prevention component in there. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing. Let's do a little bit of crafting and let's talk about it. Now, I used to actually use the reverse grip bench press quite a bit in my 20s. I was obviously a lot bigger and stronger then. I'll kind of flip in a photo so you guys can see that to get an idea. Back at that time, I was probably able to reverse grip 500 pounds for a max. So that should tell you something about the exercise, that I did work it quite a bit. But that being said, it has some problems with it. Now, one of the things I will note, I found very quickly that once I'd been doing the reverse grip for a few weeks, I was able to do 10 to 20 pounds more for the same number of reps on the reverse grip that I was able to do on the normal bench press. Some guys find that with their leverages. And the thing is, because of that, some guys have gone over to it for powerlifting. At one time, a guy had set a world record in the bench press using the reverse grip. However, some powerlifting federations have banned it, and some have not. Again, controversial topic. I personally choose not to utilize this exercise anymore. So, what's going on with it? Benefits of the reverse grip bench press. Well, the thing is, it puts a lot of things in your body in a completely different set of leverages than most of us are used to. And it's actually, as someone had said, is it better for the upper chest than the regular bench press? It does seem to be, due to the mechanics of it. It does seem to be a slightly better upper chest builder. However, most of us are doing enough stuff that works our upper chest, particularly if you're doing a lot of overhead pressing or you're doing any incline pressing. Your upper chest usually is not a problem for most people who are running any good strength-based program. I mean, most people on strength programs, true strength-based programs of any type, are doing enough overhead pressing along with their other chest work. That upper chest is not really a problem. But yeah, I mean, if someone had a lagging upper chest and they weren't doing a lot of that, the reverse grip bench press might actually help with that. For those who don't understand what I mean by reverse grip bench press, this is overhand grip versus underhand grip bench press. As you can see, it's a completely different setup. So that's one advantage of it. It does work the triceps in a very different way than a lot of other chest presses do. So one of the things you'll note, the tricep recruitment on this exercise is enormous. And most people who try it are going to find they're going to have to use a fairly narrow grip no matter what they do with it. But the triceps, again, perfect example. Take your 5 to 8 rep normal bench press set that you do. Take that same weight, build up to that after 1 or 2 sessions, or even just actually do a 5 to 8 rep max with a reverse grip bench press. If you were to try this exercise, the first thing you will notice is that your triceps will be throbbing afterwards. Again, completely different stimulation to the triceps than most other chest presses. And that's, again, one of the things you're going to notice. In fact, the first couple times you do the exercise, you're probably going to get severe DOMs in your triceps. So yeah, it works the upper chest and the triceps a bit more effectively than the conventional bench press does. So that's some of the advantages there in terms of where it actually puts additional stimulation. And again, you're using a heavier weight on it too, oftentimes, in your normal bench. So again, the stimulation is totally different. The other thing it does, again, he talked about external rotation of the shoulder joints. Or is it internal rotation? You know what, guys, I just woke up. I don't remember which it is now. But you guys can look that up yourselves. So yeah, that's considered an advantage. That rotation of the shoulders is actually preventative of injury, meaning if you're strengthening that performance element in your shoulder joint, your rotator cuffs are going to be stronger. Accordingly, it is also more difficult to damage a rotator cuff while doing the reverse grip bench press. So that's, again, for as far as the training ends of it, because the actual training component of it, the stimulation component of it, puts less stress in the rotator cuffs, like damaging stress, and more strengthening work in them. combined with the fact that it works the upper chest and the triceps a bit more effectively, it would seem at first to be a completely superior exercise. In fact, people would say, well, it's got an injury prevention component to it that the bench press doesn't have, and a lot of people hurt their shoulders bench pressing. Shouldn't they be doing this exercise? And the answer is, well, that's where we run into problems with it. It's an inherently dangerous exercise as well. And, your viewpoints on that are going to vary. I don't do it purely because of that. I personally feel the exercise is too dangerous versus the benefits I get from it for me to continue to do the exercise. Yes, I'm someone who has done 500 pounds on this exercise. I used to do work sets with 405 on this exercise. But the risk of injury as I get older for me is too high. And I remember actually when C.T. Fletcher first came out, he talked about that a bit. When he was talking about Snap City and all of that, you can't be afraid of exercises. So-and-so wouldn't have set their world record without the Bro Script bench press. People shouldn't be worried about Snap City and getting hurt on exercises. And I respectfully disagree. Simply because people do get hurt on this exercise. Now, some aspects of this exercise make it more difficult to get hurt. Because you have to move the bar such a short distance, you have to get all the way up under the J-hooks to perform this exercise, because you can't move the bar very far without coming out of your groove. So most guys get themselves way up under the J-hooks. So the J-hooks are all the way up here over your upper chest, right? And you're having to unrack it like this and bring it down, and then you're pressing to the lower chest. That's the only way to perform the exercise. Otherwise, you're going to drop it right on your face. So everyone has to perform it that way. So it forces you into an anatomical position to where your shoulders are completely safe because you have to press it low on the chest. Your face and neck and everything is completely protected by the J-hooks. So there's no chance of ever dropping it on your neck, and it's shoulder safe. So again, that seems like it would be a really safe exercise in that regard. The problem is that your elbows are put into a position to where if anything goes wrong on this exercise, and I mean literally anything, if you come 2 inches out of your groove after your elbows are bent, like if you come outside of that position, that range of motion, let me see this real quick and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. If you come outside of the normal power groove on this exercise, the same problem guys have with a shirted bench press, and your elbows are not completely locked when you do, it's going to drop. Meaning this is right here, this is how you perform the exercise. If at any point your elbows, it comes forward and your elbows are locked at all, do you see what's happening? You've now got an extremely heavy weight, 200, 300, 400 pounds, whatever you're using on the bar. It's now like this, and it's in an upward position, and your elbow's unlocked. It's coming down immediately. Now it's going to hit the J-hooks at that point, and it's going to drop and hit you up here on the chest. It's going to come down, but it's going to bend down like this, because it's going to double your arms down, you're going to drop like this, and it's going to hit. Or, as soon as it does that, it's going to roll out of your thumbs. A lot of guys use a cheater grip with it, or they do that, and their thumbs get pulled out of the way when it rolls back. Either way, it could break your thumb on the way down if you're not using a false grip. But the false grip might help keep you from knocking it out. But the problem is that it really won't, because even the thumb over grip on it with a heavy weight like that, when it starts to bend, it's going to go against your thumbs anyway. It's going to pop past them no matter what. It's either going to break them or roll past them. And it is coming down when that happens. You're not going to stop it. Your spotter's not going to stop it unless your spotter grabs it immediately within half a second, and he is strong enough to free row the weight you have on the bar. If he can't row the amount of weight you have on the bar, and he waits more than a fraction of a second, a fourth to a half of a second to grab it and pull, that bar is coming down and hitting you. So that makes it, again, a dangerous exercise in that regard. Now, could you do this inside of a competition bench that has side safeties, that has you all the way under the J-hooks and reduce the chance of injury? Absolutely. But how many people are going to do that every single time they bench press? Most gyms don't have a full competition bench setup, or they might have some power racks you can do it with, but they tend to get hogged really quick. It is going to be very difficult for a person to always have access to all of the equipment to safely perform this exercise. There's very limited comp benches in gyms. There's very limited power racks that people can get away with the full setup on, so that you could do this exercise that way, to where you always have side safeties. because you will eventually bury it. I always performed it inside of a power rack. But again, getting that set up and hogging the power rack for this exercise starts to really become an inconvenience. But you could do it that way again, to where when it hits you, you have the pins set to where they're basically 1 inch below where you touch at the bottom on the range of motion. So if it comes up and hits the chest, it'll catch it. But the problem is that it still impacts the chest. You're still going to have 300 plus pounds slip out of your hands, again, potentially breaking your thumb and dropping and hitting you in the chest. And it's only going to move you about an inch because you're going to arch a little, and it's going to knock you back under the pins and it's going to hit, but you're still going to get injured. You can still crack a rib. You're still going to get some bruising on your chest and everything. And the thing is that you're invariably going to drop this bar on this exercise sooner or later. And that becomes the problem. You will eventually do it. I've done it. And that's kind of the problem. I've dropped 405 on my chest inside the power rack doing it exactly that way. And it did bruise me pretty good. Did I get a real injury? No. Did I hurt my thumb? No, because I was using a false grip. But it has slipped out. It has hit my chest and knocked me back down, put some nice big old black bruise across both of my pecs where the bar hit with 400 pounds or 405. And, it does make you think when that happens that, that's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. It's a high-risk exercise, and that's the problem we run into. It has training elements to it that are superior. It has injury prevention elements in the training of it itself and the movement pattern that in some ways make it a fantastic and superior exercise. However, because of the nature of the exercise and the way you have to grip it, it is 5 times, maybe even 10 times easier to dump the bar than it is on a standard bench press. You are going to drop that weight on yourself eventually. And if you perform this exercise long enough, you're not even going to do it one time. You're probably going to do it 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. And every single time that happens, you're just mounting up a higher and higher chance of injury. So in my opinion, because of that, I personally don't feel the injury risks balance things out. I feel like the benefits that you gain from the exercise can be gained by other exercises just as easily, by different combinations of exercises, and they simply don't outweigh the risk of injury, because you will drop this bar on yourself multiple times. The worst case, because of the way people are going to grip it, hoping that they're going to keep a better grip on it with a thumb over grip, they're eventually going to break a thumb doing it. You're eventually going to crack a rib doing it. It's one of those exercises that just invariably is going to run the high risk of injury no matter what you do. It's just going to be a different type of injury than you would get from other bench pressing. It's going to be basically you losing the bar and it coming down. And you do the exercise enough times, it is going to happen. In fact, you see guys do it the very first time they try to perform the exercise. It's not uncommon. Sometimes guys do it with less than 50% of their max learning the technique on it. It happens. It's a dangerous exercise. So that's the problem with it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.